Podcast Network Asia.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
Welcome to the big time!
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
You know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the Star.
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You're watching and listening to the longest-running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. 600 episodes going strong for this podcast, which is over 9 years old at this point. Stan C, Romaran, and Rowan ASH at your service for tonight's live stream. Happy 600th episode, guys.
All right.
Hello, happy 600th episode. Like I said on the pre-show, it doesn't feel like 600 episodes. It's just, just another Thursday.
Still big numbers.
Ikaw, Rowan, it's not a big deal for you talaga? You're gonna be all cool here?
I don't know. I said it's still big numbers and I like big numbers. Siyempre, lalo na kung sa kumpara yan, I'd like it.
Okay. Okay. Work.
Para may pambili ka ng headphones.
Yeah, that's true. And fight forever.
Yes, that's right. Ikaw, Ro, any early reviews from having played the game?
Oh, are we doing this now?
We can. I mean, Rowan mentioned it already.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole thing about Fight Forever is that it definitely caters to an entire generation of wrestling gamers and people who grew up with No Mercy, Def Jam games even. So the whole hook really is that you get to play with a different engine, and then you get to play with AEW guys. So if you were tired of the 20 plus years of WWE's dominance with the simulation style wrestling game, this is a nice change of pace. But other than that, kasi it kind of falls apart because the game is, as much as I wanted to like it, I really did want to like it. I still have to play more of it. I will do so this weekend. But a lot of it kasi is still kind of half-baked. Alam mo yung kailangan ilabas na kasi matagal na siyang iniire. Diba? So it's like that. I mean, like, I'm sure you'll enjoy it still, especially if you want a different video game experience when it comes to wrestling. Tapos if you haven't been able to play the latest 2K games, especially Rowan doesn't have a PS4 or whatever, PS5, PC. He's part of that sad part of the market who does not have a current gen console. It's still fun. It's just that I wouldn't expect anything that's even close to what 2K puts out every year. No, thank you though to THQ Nordic and AEW Games for supplying us, the Manila Wrestling Federation, with an advanced copy. It definitely is nice to recreate ourselves then in a different game, a different universe, if you will. And it's glad to see the big companies support the little companies like us by allowing us to get our hands on one of the most anticipated games of the year by wrestling fans.
Yeah, good for you guys. Now you already have your early access copies. Obviously, I can't have one for reasons. So like the rest of you, like Rowan here, we're gonna find our way through yung online stores on Nintendo or Sony or the Xbox store, whichever console you're on, since they are on pretty much every console, including PC. So there, something for you to catch over the weekend in case you have nothing better to do. But we have so much to talk about because there's so much wrestling going on. And that's why we want you to be part of our growing wrestling podcast patron community. Lalo na, we have Money in the Bank coming up this weekend. Rowan, can you do the plug?
No. I'm not leaving this to Rowan. No, sorry. You
Yeah,
are.
kabado ako ngayon.
Yeah. You're not
I also
gonna
drank coffee,
pull this
so
one off.
yeah.
Yep. All right, so guys, we just had Forbidden Door earlier this week. Thank you, Stan, for streaming it for the first time to our patrons. And this weekend, on Sunday specifically, we will be doing the Money in the Bank delayed telecast watch party on Discord. The difference here is that we did actually spring for the VPN. We are actually bringing you the WWE Network feed, not live, but delayed after the show ends. We'll be doing this at 9 a.m. Syempre para may time tayong gumising na di naman super aga, pero alam mo yun, refresh tayo. We don't have to wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. just to catch the show in UK time. We will be giving you Stan and Carlo Pamintuan's Tagalog feed, Tagalog commentary once again. I know I missed it. I don't know if you guys missed it. I hope you guys did, because these guys are working very hard to bring the WWE action in our native tongue, and we will be getting to hear that again when we do the watch party on Discord. And then all you got to do is subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/wrestling podcast for as low as only $5. That's 175 pesos here in the Philippines. That hasn't changed much. And you get exclusive benefits when you join our Patreon community. You get the Discord community where we do the watch parties, syempre AEW, syempre network feeds like this. And Shepard will do NXT as well, because we now have access to the network again. So that's on the table too. Then hindi na siya exclusive, but we do have freebie reviews as well. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage. I have to say an extra show now. And then syempre MWF, care of Rowan here. And syempre we have Pasabay. We're still working that out. We're doing something different. We're planning to do something different with that, but it's still very much a benefit and perk of being a wrestling podcast patron. And syempre, again, all of that good stuff for only $5. Patreon.com/wrestling podcast. Let's all watch Money in the Bank this Sunday, and maybe your favorite 40-year-old, 40 na ba siya, will win Money in the Bank. My favorite 40-year-old is like Nakamura. So I don't
if
know
you're talking about LA Knight, he is 40, yes.
Yeah, so my favorite 40-year-old is Nakamura. Your favorite 40-year-old is LA Knight. Also, we might as well plug it na rin kasi we have locked it down with our friends from Skinny Mike Sports Bar in Bonifacio Global City. We will be doing SummerSlam live in Skinny Mike's. What day is that?
That's August 6th, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry?
Yes, tama.
August 6th? Yeah, August 6th. Sunday morning in Manila, Skinny Mike Sports Bar. Please, let's all make this a successful event, because I don't want to point fingers here, but the last time we used to do SummerSlam, it did not go as well as Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. So the times are different. We got a new boss. I hope that you guys are more excited to be at SummerSlam nowadays. Syempre, Sunday na siya. You don't have to take a leave on Monday morning anymore. So let's all pile in. Skinny Mike Sports Bar on August 6th. That's a Sunday morning. We'll be releasing yung ticket pages, syempre, where you can go to buy the tickets. We'll be doing it in partnership as well with our friends from Geek Talk PH, syempre, our friends Legend Dennis and Galactic Shark, big wrestling fans who also want to see this. Who want to watch Cody versus Brock and whoever challenges for Roman's championship. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope that you guys will come, kasi syempre, we do want more of these events to happen. We do want all of you to join us and congregate with us as we bring back the live wrestling experience further in Manila. So, ayun, dami nating events. Let's hope. I hope that I see y'all there, and sana di kayo talk shit.
Yun yung version natin of church. Since it's on a Sunday morning, and BGC, diba, on a Sunday morning, hindi masyado matraffic. So I hope that it encourages you to show up and show out for SummerSlam at Skinny Mike's. And who knows, if there's enough demand, we might actually get sponsors again. We were able to give out a lot of really cool action figures ng WrestleMania viewing party. So sana maulit muli if all of you create the demand for it. So we'll see you, or they will see you at Skinny Mike's for the viewing party. I'll be on duty for Tagalog commentary for that show as well.
Oh yeah. Speaking of, yeah, because we have the VPN, we will be showing the network feed as well in that live viewing party. So I know that the internet the Skinny Mics can hold up. I know they held up, WrestleMania and all of that. So I think we can guarantee that for sure.
All right. Let's start off with the actual news that we have to talk about. And we're going to start off with Mr. McMahon here because meron mga reports na his influence is all over creative once again. And there are examples that were raised by the different dirt sheets and the different wrestling journalists. Things like how last week's episode of SmackDown had advertised matches na hindi natuloy, like Bayley versus Shotzi, for example, where if Bayley were to lose, Shotzi was going to replace her supposedly in Money in the Bank. So a match like that, which had already been built up with promos and whatnot, didn't get to happen. And that was, according to the dirt sheets online, one of the many ways daw na naramdaman natin yung influence ulit ni Vince McMahon in the creative. And apparently, ang bali-balita is that Triple H, who's the chief creative officer, and Nick Khan, the president of WWE, they're doing what they can to try and minimize it. So, ikaw, Ro, what do you think about this since you're the one who gets to review all of the shows on the daily?
Okay, so the biggest, I think the biggest violator, everyone was up in arms about this week's Raw being Vince-ified again. Rowan can talk about this as well because he saw SmackDown last Friday. But to me, kasi, even though they say that Vince was all over it, to me, it still felt like a Triple H production. All the stuff I like from wrestling storytelling is still there. Like they had Ciampa explain why he did what he did. They tied together a bunch of different people, a bunch of different players. So a lot of that was still there. I don't know if they messed with any advertised matches that were supposed to be on Raw, but it was all good. I think, I don't know, maybe it could get worse in the coming weeks, but this one felt pretty safe. And yun nga, if it's true that Nick Khan and Triple H are still pushing back against Vince meddling, then I think we'll be okay pa rin. I hope so. We don't know for sure, but right now there is, for me, no cause for alarm just yet.
I'm surprised that hindi ako maniniwala na ginalaw ni Vince yung show. Like, he rewrote it. Pero like, kasi I watched SmackDown last Friday or last Saturday. Pero hindi naman siya mukhang ginalaw ni Vince. Like, it's still, tama si Ro, it's like a Triple H production pa rin. I enjoyed it. And parang, like, yung matches are like, not less than 5 minutes. Kaya na-enjoy ko talaga siya. It definitely didn't feel like ginalaw ni Vince.
Mm-hmm. I'm probably going to co-sign what Rose said regarding Raw because one of the things that stood out that I really liked was that vignette from Finn Balor where he explained yung bitterness niya and the root of all of his resentment towards Seth Rollins. And we don't really get those vignettes very often to really flesh out a character's motivations. And that's something we kind of have been getting more. At least mas normal siya in Triple H's creative regime. So, I don't know. These are things we read on the internet, whether or not totoo or 100% totoo, only the people inside actually know, right? So, we can only really tell things from as much as we can see through the screens when we watch these shows. If you're gonna make all these comments na, ay nako, Vince na naman or whatever, at least sana nanonood ka from start to finish. So you can actually make the comments justifiably. Because if you're the type of fan who just go on YouTube and watch the 3-minute highlights, and then you're going to say, Vince na naman, I think that's pretty unfair.
To be fair, they're also, according to the news, they're also trying to Vince-proof the shows by announcing matches in advance, like weeks in advance. Para hindi niya magalaw, diba? Kasi if you move it, syempre, people are gonna call it out, diba? Well, that's good because for one, I really do need WWE to actually book their shows in advance, like AEW does, because there's too much of this blank slate Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown, diba na? Oh, you can put the show on and then you don't have a main event, and then you'll make the main event in the opening segment. So that's, I don't what kind of show would you go to a show without a main event? Diba? So that's messed up. So
Gagawin pa lang ni Teddy
diba?
Long.
If you went to an MWF show, Rowan, wala pa kami main event pero pumunta ka lang kasi malalaman mo kung ano yung main event sa first segment.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm fine with going to events without knowing yung match card. Like kung konti lang yung alam, or like konti lang
no,
yung
but the main event is
alam.
the draw, diba?
Yeah,
I mean,
of
like
course.
if you were sold Money in the Bank without a main event, like would you buy Money in the Bank? Diba? So that's the thing. Anyway, no, I'm digressing here, but all I wanted to say really was that if this Vince thing was gonna force them to actually book cards in advance, and I'm all for it.
All right. In a bit, we're going to talk about Forbidden Door, our review of the show, plus some news that have come out since the show ended on Monday morning. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts right here on Podcast Network Asia. All right, before we get to Forbidden Door, let's have Ro answer Julian's question.
All right, Julian says Vince saved Finn last week. And that was last week when he had Finn attack Seth. Diba? That was a Triple H call because they had Ciampa back. Diba? We're talking about the same thing, right? The Seth Open challenge, and then Finn attacked Seth before Miz came out to answer it. Diba?
Yeah, that's what happened 2 weeks ago. Yes.
Yeah. So that was a Triple H call because he didn't want to spoil Finn. So if anything, you should be thanking your big boss Hunter, your daddy Hunter, your Papa H. So and then you have you also thank him for the Ciampa return that happened last week. So all of that happened not because of Vince.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Ro, may fan ka. Nagpapa-shoutout sa'yo.
Yeah. I think this is a guy from TikTok. Kasi, I acknowledge his comment. Hey, Kirby, what's up, man? Thank you for listening and tuning in. Maraming salamat. Sana mag-enjoy ka.
All right. Let's talk about Forbidden Door, and we're going to start with our favorite wrestler here, at least for 2/3 of this live stream. Bryan Danielson, who defeated Kazuchika Okada by tapping him out with a broken freaking arm. Apparently, we found out in the days since Forbidden Door wrapped that Bryan had injured himself minutes into the match and wrestled the next 10 minutes with a complete break in one of the bones in his arm. And see, Brie Bella even posted the X-ray on her stories. This is nuts. Anytime someone can keep on wrestling with a fracture like that, it's always nuts to me. It tells me a lot about how tough the person is, and a little bit then parang how baliw they are, diba? Na they can just go out and do that and probably risk further injury. I wouldn't know. I'm not a doctor, so hindi ko masasabi if they're actually risking further injury or what. Ikaw, Rowan, what do you think when you hear about stories like this na what Bryan just did in the main event of Forbidden Door?
Actually, all throughout the match, hindi ko siya nahalata, which is weird. Like, he carried on. And Bryan is such a good pro na even though he's in pain, like he's already hurt, he still continued wrestling. And he continued wrestling against someone like Okada. So if it's not Bryan, siguro, they call for the X.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Ro, would you do this?
Probably would. It depends. I wouldn't know because I've never torn or broken anything in the ring. I've only just sprained. That's as far as I had gotten. So I can't say. But I'm gonna compare this favorably to the Cody Rhodes thing that I ranted about last month. Diba? So back at Night of Champions, see Cody pretty much wrestled, quote unquote, and endured, quote unquote, Brock Lesnar with a quote unquote broken arm. Diba? So these are two different approaches to the same thing, and this approach is pretty much the legit approach because Bryan did actually break his arm, and obviously this is a way better tale of perseverance and grit and endurance because for one thing, you don't actually focus your offense on the arm that is legitimately broken, diba? So that in itself is admirable because they're not trying to do anything stupid out there. Whereas Cody and Brock, went the other way completely by choosing to target the quote unquote broken arm and having the ref push through with the match despite it. Meanwhile, see Bryan and Okada just, tried to go home as fast as they could or work around it. Diba? which is the right thing you should do when a bone is broken in the match. So this more effectively conveyed the fact that Brian was a tough guy, was a persevering face, was a enduring pro. A lot
Despite him
more
being the
than
heel here.
yeah, you know, compared to Cody's overblown, overglorified, overforced attempt at heroism because he has a quote unquote broken arm. So I don't know if I would recommend it, but you know, at the very least, they didn't try to aggravate the injury like idiots. So that's always a good thing. So
Work on the arm.
yeah, exactly. They incorporated it in the story. I think they avoided it. They were able to sell the thing without having to target it. So to me, okay yun. Kasi it was one of the smartest things that they could do, you know, with the stupid thing being continuing the match itself. But, you know, good thing. That should cement Brian as one of the greatest of all time, I think.
For sure, yeah, I absolutely agree. Before we continue here, shout out to Babyface producer Gel, who's in the chat, greeting us a happy 600. Thank you so much, Babyface producer Gel.
Missed you.
Saan ka man naroroon ngayon? Okay, so two things coming out of the Bryan Danielson and Kazuchika Okada match. One, the final countdown. Holy crap! After we found out from Tony Khan himself na sobrang taas ng rate ng Europe for every play of the final countdown, we heard it be used at an AEW show. Sabi ni Brian nung media scrum that he hasn't heard the song since his last ROH date. So it made the moment extra special for him. And the second thing is that the injury that Brian sustained at Forbidden Door is going to keep him out from 6 to 8 weeks. So mukhang hindi siya magiging part ng All-In at Wembley Stadium as an in-ring competitor.
Yeah. That, you know, sorry. Ako, I didn't really, hindi na ako umasa na abot siya ng All-In. Anytime that there is anything involving the bone, you don't want to rush it. And with the show being that close, I wasn't gonna hold out hope that he was gonna make it. So it's fine. There are other things that they could use to sell the Wembley show, the London show. I think one of them we'll talk about in a bit. But I already had my fill. Like I had Brian versus Okada. I was already satisfied with that. And if they're not gonna do blood and guts at All In, then what? Then
no, they're not. They're doing it in like 3 weeks.
Exactly. So they're not. I don't need Brian on that show.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Rowan, any thoughts on the final countdown or yung length ng injured time for Brian?
Well, I just wish him a speedy recovery. And yung final countdown, I wouldn't say it's memorable for me kasi hindi ko naman naabutan yung Ring of Honor days niya. And I wasn't even watching Ring of Honor. But it's a great pop. Like, nakita ko yung crowd, like, they went crazy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sobrang mahal daw. It's like $100,000 thereabouts for the 2 times that they played the final countdown on pay-per-view. So I hope it was worth it. I really hope it was worth it for everybody involved. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. Did it deliver for you, Rowan?
Yeah, absolutely. Magkakahalo yung fighting style. Like, there's high flying and there's power moves involved as well, which I really like. And nagdugo sila, which is something that we don't see that much anymore, unless it's a John Mox.
Excuse me?
Okay. In AEW, dude. They
he
all the time
in
AEW.
He saved it. Unless it's John Moxley.
Okay.
Yeah, pero yun nga, like, they went crazy. They even used the steps and all, the hood of the table. I want this type of match, and it's something that I want to do when I play AEW Fight Forever.
Kala ko, pag naging wrestler ka.
No. Hindi naman ako ganun ka-violent. Grabe.
Uh-huh. All right. Ikaw, Ro, what are your thoughts on Omega Ospreay 2? Because after this match, people were saying, now we're going to have the trilogy be completed by the next Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, before that, I almost forgot. Congratulations to Julian for graduating senior high this year.
Hey, congrats, Julian.
Sana ganap na high school graduate. But all right. Okay, so I really like this match. I like this match a lot. I saw your comments. I saw that saw a lot of people say it went too long. But the thing is, because it went long because they not because they wanted to jerk themselves off diba, in the ring, but because Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay were actually wrestling a big boy match. By that I mean they were trying to grow up and move on from the nasty wrestler stereotypes that people like Jim Cornette have about them, like a spot monkey sila kesyo, they don't sell, they just do a whole bunch of sequences to pop the boys, the fans, diba? um I think this match would pass the Paul London test, if you will. It was a real fight. It didn't feel like an exhibition of acrobatics or gymnastics. Wherever there were high flying or acrobatic spots, this was mostly done to punctuate the actual gritty violence that Rowan was referencing. So a lot of this was good. And without the time that they were taking to actually sell the shit that they were doing to each other, uh, it would have played off a lot worse, and it would have played off the way the haters would expect, an Omega and Osprey match to go. And I really appreciated this because I think I don't know. This is me really spitballing here, but I think it was them trying to prove that okay, we can actually do the storytelling thing. We can actually um, prove that we are mature wrestlers, if you will. Diba? So I would like to, if you watch this and just watch it at the surface level, I think I would like to ask you to watch it back and appreciate how much of themselves they were giving in that match, because it was really a lot, and they were trying to service the story that they wanted to tell in that match, diba? So um it was long, yes, but I think they were trying to prove a point, and I think that point was proven. uh Giancarlo was talking about and Glendale talking about Don Callis here. Yes, I agree that Don Callis was unnecessary in the larger picture, but I also understood what they were trying to go for here. Because the thing about this match is that when you hold it across two different promotions, the alignments are all fucked up. In New Japan, Kenny is the heel and Will is the face. In AEW, Kenny is obviously the face and Will has to be the heel. So I think this is also me spitballing again. They had to find a way to kind of marry the two, like for Will at least, but they had to find a way to honor what New Japan was trying to do for Will, because they really were trying to position him as a big star, as the leader of United Empire, as their next big gaijin star without Kenny Omega in the home roster. Diba? So I think what they were trying to do there is that one, you service Will as a heel and Don the Kenny Omega and Don Callis storyline by having Don interfere and try to cheat, but you don't make that the cause for Will's win. Will still has to pull out the win from his own pockets by his own bootstraps and prove that he did actually have what it takes to beat Kenny Omega decisively. The screwdriver helped, yes, but if you would notice, syempre, it was still the big moves, the highly unsafe Tiger Driver 91, the two hidden blades that they had, the Stormbreaker that he did, all of that he had to use against Kenny Omega and overcome the very stereotypical, oh, the heel used the heel cheated with the third party outside the ring to win. Diba? So I think natawid nila yun. Um, the amount of time it took to get there, I think, kind of serviced the things that they wanted to do there. And if this was Tony Khan's big master plan to honor the crazy way Will Ospreay and to an extent Kenny Omega was booked across an ocean, diba? Then I think he did it well. I think both guys played their part well. Um, Again, I will agree that in the end, I didn't think Don Callis needed to be there, but I get why he had to be there. So, good stuff, a lot of good stuff. Again, I would like to ask you to watch it back because it really is like a crowning moment of this pay per view.
Julian, I want to address yung sinasabi mo about ejection rules. Hindi lang AEW, like wrestling everywhere.
Yeah,
No matter
yeah,
what promotion you go to, if someone gets ejected, chances are they're gonna come right back.
yeah.
I should know. I've done this myself.
It
Speaking from
really is one of
experience.
it's one of those things that kailangan you gotta bend for the story. It is messy when it happens, but sometimes you gotta do it. And rightfully, yes, call it out. Pero sometimes you have to get there.
It do be like that because wrestling.
Yeah.
Ito,
Yeah.
question for you guys. Let's start with Rowan. Should this match have main evented over Bryan versus Okada?
Anything that has Kenny Omega in it can main event. It will draw a lot of money.
Yeah, but should it have
Pero
main evented over Bryan Okada?
I'm fine. Pero I'm fine with Bryan and Okada main eventing. Kasi parang, I mean, uh, even though Omega versus Osprey is like a title match, parang it's okay to like somewhere in the middle of the show. Tapos whatever's next, parang pahinga, and then main event.
Mm-hmm. Igaro.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I think it should have main evented. I think that was the money match talaga. I actually thought the match was gonna be for All In, diba? That should have been the big draw for the UK because hometown boy, but still Will again isn't a face in AEW. So okay, sure. But in any in any given Sunday, that should have been the main event, especially with the kind of main event time that they got. Um, I hope that my explanation for it was, for the whole Don Callis thing was enough for you. But I guess accept why a lot of you still don't think that was the case. But anyway, yes, I also understand why Bryan and Okada main evented. Siyempre, Okada is still the biggest star, and Bryan is kind of the biggest star, but still not the biggest of stars, but good enough. It's just that if you were gonna, I think the biggest story was still Kenny versus Will. So when you compare that with an exhibition match, the big story should win out.
I'm gonna be taking Rowan's side here, and I'll say now they were right to main event Bryan Okada for the same reasons. Now we were okay with Anarchy in the
Yeah.
Arena closing out Double or Nothing
Yeah.
over the Four Pillars, diba?
I don't hate
Bryan
it.
is the mainstream star.
Yeah.
I don't know if Kenny Omega can say that yet, or if we can say that yet about Kenny, but Bryan is that guy. And si Okada, diba, he's on that level where he goes up against a big American mainstream star that epitomizes the pagka-crossover event ng Forbidden Door. So for those reasons alone, I think they were right na Bryan Okada was the main event.
I don't hate it. It's just that I think in any other card it could have been the main event. Although I don't think we're disputing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not. All right, let's talk about CM Punk here because good old Phil got a taste of what it's like to be absolutely booed in Toronto. So good job, Toronto, for doing your part. Should he just embrace the heelishness and not try to portray himself as a babyface? Because like on Collision, he was still on the side of the babyfaces, but with FTR and Ricky Starks and going up against the Guns and Bullet Club Gold.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing. The thing is that when he came back in Chicago last week, diba? Initially when he started to shoot on the Elite, he was pretty much a heel. He was pretty much a dick. And then nagkataon lang na the Chicago crowd that still loves him a lot, they just ended up making him look like a face. So that was what happened. But in any other city like Toronto, things changed, and they very clearly did not like CM Punk. So I think there is a couple more weeks left in this experiment, and I think once you find out whether the boos are greater than the cheers or vice versa, I think that's when you should adjust. If the rest of the cities are going to be like Toronto, then you might as well make him be a heel, because I enjoyed him as a heel, not because I wanted to boo him, but because as a wrestler, I enjoyed his really relaxed wrestling. Kasi si ABL put it really well in a nice way that he wasn't trying to keep up with the kids. Because when he's a face, he tries to keep up with the kids.
Yeah.
He tries to keep up with their pace, tries to wrestle as fast as they do, and it results in the sloppy Phil thing, the sloppy CM Punk thing, which is, while charming to an extent, it kind of exposes him as the middle-aged wrestler that he actually is. But in the match versus Kojima in Forbidden Door, he wrestled in his own time, which is something I really, really appreciate. Because you don't want to, you would much rather see someone wrestle in a really relaxed way than, you know, try to be someone who's jittery and, medyo you cringe for them. I mean, the fact that Punk botched the fucking tawag doon, the buckshot lariat twice, diba? You don't want to see that shit. I would much rather see the guy who is making fun of Kojima, doing the Nagata Mongolian chops on him. Diba? That was way more entertaining to me. And yes, it is antithesis to what a heel should be, but that's to me as a wrestler, because I watch it with a different set of eyes. And Toronto, meanwhile, reacted the way they should have reacted to someone like CM Punk. So kung gano'n na lang din, like, let's just keep this, let's have him be the shitster. Let's have him be the guy who wants to rile up the crowd because he knows the crowd doesn't like him. Let's have him be the guy who is actually pretty aware that he is a dick, and people would much rather boo him than cheer him, except when he's in his hometown.
Yeah, sabi nga ni
So-
Aaron, what if that's the Brett thing where he is a dick and he's loved only in Canada?
Yeah, sure. That will be okay if the writing supports it. Because at this point, it's still not supporting it. Because he's teaming with what? He's teaming with FTR and Ricky Starks in main events of Collision, diba? And those
Yeah.
guys are really established baby faces and very much not heels. So, if Punk is going to be adjusting, then the writing around Punk has to adjust as well. So, if I were Tony Khan, I would be leaning toward him being full heel na. Gawin na natin yun. I don't care about the rest of the shows. I don't want to observe to see if they're going to cheer him or boo him. I'd rather just have him boo him. Or, I'd rather give them a reason to boo him, because at this point, I don't think he is that redeemable as a character, as a person.
All right, since Rowan just got here, do you have thoughts, or did you miss it back? I wasn't sure.
Like, I'm fine with Punk being a heel. Like, he's just not a convincing babyface anymore, at least in my eyes.
Yup.
Saka, him being a heel is very effective. Like, back in 2012, when he turned heel, diba? Parang, I kind of know how wrestling is scripted, pero I still got worked up about, I still got worked up on his heel work. So, I'm fine with him being a heel. Kasi, I mean, I don't want him to be a face anymore. Kasi, it's parang mali na nga yung mga pinagagawa niya backstage, tapos we're gonna still cheer him. Nah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, diba? It's what you do backstage or in your personal life should theoretically be different from how you're presented on screen, because that's a character that you play on TV.
Yun nga, kaya nga, he is the Duterte of pro wrestling. So people will cheer the shitty stuff. So that's why TK is still, feeling justified about keeping him as a face. But eventually, if the rest of the road is gonna be like Toronto, then I think you should cut your losses and do the right thing.
Mm-hmm. All right, last thing here about Forbidden Door. Did you think that NJPW was integrated better than last year? Kasi last year, diba, medyo rushed yung build. Like, everything was just put together in a span of 2 weeks. Whereas, we actually got a bit of time for at least the big matches. But everything else, ganun din, parang tagpi-tagpi lang. You have a random Tomohiro Ishii aligning with Eddie Kingston type of deal, and all those other cross-promotional matches. So compared to last year, mas maganda ba yung integration?
I would say so. It's still not the best. It's still, yun nga, pinagtagpi-tagpi pa rin siya. Pero the big draws kasi, like Osprey and Omega and Okada versus Bryan, they were still at least, planned out in advance, and they were given the time and effort to make it feel like a big deal. Tapos the rest were just, okay, let's stick some NJPW guys on, and we'll see how it goes. So if that gets anchored by your big matches, then okay siya to me. And I would still prefer this one over the shit show we got last year.
Ikaw, Rowan, any thoughts on this?
This is a bad look for me. I'm sorry. I didn't get to watch some AEW shows for the build up sa Forbidden Door, but I I do agree that last year's build up to Forbidden Door, parang it's too rushed. Masyadong minadali and parang it wasn't given enough time to tell the story. They just jumped to the match or the pay-per-view.
All right. We'll probably talk about Jungle Boy's heel turn in the audio only version. Just addressing Leo here, who did mention na he's not yet on the level of Prison Dom or
Yeah,
Ex-Con Dom.
I got thoughts about this. I think
Ah.
Leo will like my thoughts about this.
So watch out for that when we drop the audio only version on the audio only episode. It's up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It'll be up by tomorrow. But first, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Money in the Bank predictions. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts on Podcast Network Asia. All right, it's time for our Money in the Bank predictions. Again, they're going to be the show is going to be airing live from the UK, 3 a.m. on Disney Plus. But if you don't want to wake up or stay up until 3 a.m. to watch it, Ro already told you how you can enjoy it at our own pace on Sunday morning. All right, let's go through the show and its matches one by one. We'll start off with the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, and the champions, or the former champions, who are invoking their rematch because they never lost the titles, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Rowan, let's start with you here.
So the titles are on the line, not Liv and Raquel, like what I said from the previous audio only. They are first in line. That's what I was supposed to say. Just gonna clear that. So for this one, I want the champs to retain. I don't mind them being the tag champs. I don't like Ronda Rousey that much. I actually think they can be the female version of the bar. Like sila yung parang yung standard in the tag team division.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Ro.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is kind of obvious. I mean, like, I wouldn't say that pang SmackDown lang to. I mean, yes, ideally, yes, pero it's Ronda Rousey on your pay-per-view card. That's still kind of set. I think that still matters somewhat to some people, and I think may cash pa rin siya to to be put on a pay-per-view. But there's no way they're losing the championships. I mean, come on, it's Shayna and Ronda. Come on.
Yeah, especially this soon. Eto, tanong ni Albert, how to like Ronda right now? I just can't. That's the point. They're heels.
You don't. No, but okay, if you're asking this as a smart fan, like, I would suggest that you enjoy her mat work. I say that's her ground game is like the best. I enjoy it so much. I know she's not like the best pro wrestler in terms of being a pro wrestler, but she's trying to make something different work, and I really appreciate it because I enjoy watching the groundwork, the technical wrestling, the judo, jujitsu stuff that she likes to do. I think it makes her stand out, and you don't have to like her as a person, you don't have to like her as a character, but I think her work as a pro wrestler and how she puts it together as a pro wrestler is worth giving a chance to.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're a Shayna fan, Albert, but I am a Shayna fan, and having Ronda here in a prominent position with the championship makes Shayna Baszler relevant. So that's one more reason for me to like Ronda. So yeah, I guess it's a matter of perspective. Also, they're heels, so it doesn't really matter if you like them or not. All right, next up, Intercontinental Championship. It's Matt Riddle against Gunther.
That is the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship to you.
I like how
Is he the guy? Is he the guy to defeat Gunther?
Nah.
No. Parang no. I mean, would be nice, but no. I think they're saving this up. It is Roman Reigns too. It's being saved up for something. I just don't know what.
Mm-hmm. Rowan?
I just want Gunther to have a never-ending reign.
Okay, yeah. I don't hate that.
Yeah. We can all be on our deathbeds and still look up at Gunther being champion at the age of 60-something or 70-something. So yeah, I can live with that too, or die with that. All right, eto na. Let's get to the Money in the Bank ladder matches. Let's start with the women. Who will be, in the words of Rey Mysterio, Mrs. Money in the Bank?
Okay. Would it be crazy if it was Trish? Pero,
Does Trish need it?
No.
Why not?
Pero it would be really cool.
Ang bali-balita right now sa mga dirt sheets is that Io Sky is still the front runner.
Okay, I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I do think we do need a new top face, and I think she will be the top face. I don't mind the upcoming Oscar versus Io matches. I don't mind the Io versus Bailey matches and the Io Bianca matches again. So yeah, I don't hate that. I don't mind picking her to win. I would give it to Trish because it's Trish. Thank you, Trish.
Yeah, it's a literal thank you run. No, it's her first ladder match, her first Money in the Bank match in her 20+ year career in the biz.
Ako for dark horse pick, I'll have Zelina. I don't know, parang others are too obvious to win, like Bailey, Becky, Io. Parang masyado silang obvious na mananalo. I'll pick someone who's not too obvious.
All right, good luck with that, Rowan. Is it time for Io and Bailey to turn on each other?
Yeah,
I think
I
this
think
is the
it's time.
right time, the right place.
Tamang panahon.
Yeah. Especially now na walang Dakota Kai in the picture. It gives them both something to do with each other. Ito lang, the question is, with whom will Dakota side when she makes her eventual comeback from injury? All right. Let's give a shout out here to Troy of the Turning Heel podcast.
Troy, what up, man?
Another one of our up and coming pods in the local scene. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Sabi ni Troy, he wants Io to win. Awesome. Let's go to Mr. Money in the Bank. A lot of you have been saying, yeah, all night. So I'm saying, I'm guessing that you guys are rooting for LA Knight. But for those of you who are not rooting for LA Knight, let us know who you're rooting for. Are you rooting for Logan Paul? Rowan, are you rooting for Logan Paul?
Yeah, buti na wala si Chino dito. Hindi, wait, may naisip ako eh. Because if it's not LA Knight, I do like LA Knight and I want him to win this match. Pero what if Logan Paul wins? Ako may naisip akong scenario na later on as Seth defends his world title, he retains of course, and then Judgment Day will attack him, and then Logan Paul will cash in just to reignite the WrestleMania feud.
Okay, but what does it benefit Judgment Day to have Seth lose, but Logan Paul walk out with the World Heavyweight Championship?
Wow, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, but that's the scenario I created. That's a scenario I created in my head.
This is why you
Yes.
are on your way to becoming a dentist and not a member of WWE Creative. Right. This is an interesting lineup here. You've got 3 guys over the age of 40 and another guy in Santos Escobar who will be 40. So I'm not sure if in terms of average age, ito na yung oldest Money in the Bank lineup natin. But hindi halata based on how they move, how they act, and everything.
I have a question. Like, maganda pa rin ba yung match na to even with Logan Paul? With or without Logan Paul?
Did you not watch the Royal Rumble?
No, I think he's asking without Logan Paul. Like,
Yeah.
is this still a good match? Yes, come on.
Yeah,
come on.
Diba? Look at the lineup, dude.
Wala kang tiwala. Oh, do you think you can do better?
No.
Kaya mo pala, hindi pala
No,
maganda
I'm just asking kasi baka mamaya, like, what do people prefer? Like, with Logan Paul or without Logan Paul?
Does it matter? I don't think it does.
Yeah, I mean, like, may magagawa pa ba tayo? Like,
kasi para sa akin, Logan Paul being part of this match is unnecessary. I just don't want
for you.
Okay.
But for a lot of the casual fans who remember, WWE does want to attract the casual fans to new eyes. Logan Paul does that.
I actually, now that Rowan mentions it, I actually have a thing to say about this. I don't think Logan Paul was needed here in this really casual friendly match. Money in the Bank is like the Royal Rumble. It is quite casual friendly. It is a bunch of guys being stuck in a ladder match to grab a briefcase. But that is pretty casual friendly to me. And then you got at least one high flyer here, and then you add Logan Paul to the mix, about 2 high flyers because we have Santos and Ricochet, and then Logan Paul. So, by all measures and standards, this was going to be a good match anyway. Kasi this is the oldest young lion pool in the history of Money in the Bank. None of these guys have won a world championship, and these are the oldest non-title winners ever. So
yeah, yung bunso nila is Butch, who's about to be 30.
Yeah. What? Really?
Yeah. Butch is about to be 30 pa lang.
Yeah, I thought he was younger than that.
No. 93 siya. Late 1993.
Bruce Austin Theory tried to cash in on Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
And then that didn't work out.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't think Logan Paul needed to be here to make it casual friendly. It is more casual friendly because Logan Paul is in it, but I think they were okay without him. But
Yeah, but I'm sure after what happened to Royal Rumble, they want to create more GIFs with Logan Paul and
it's
Ricochet
been so
in them.
long. It's been so long since then.
Still,
Like
brand new GIFs for the next half year.
Yeah, but I mean, like if there's any casual fan listening or watching here, did you think to yourself, I haven't seen Logan Paul in a while. This Money in the Bank match shirt could use a Logan Paul in it. But I don't think anyone was asking for that. Like, alam mo yun? Like, it's nice to have, but I don't think anyone was jonesing for a Logan Paul comeback here. So that's
on the bright side, if you really hate Logan Paul, I'm sure you're gonna enjoy every time he falls and crashes into the ladder.
And he's gonna injure himself again. The thing now is
the bank briefcase hostage if nanalo siya.
Yun. So you brought up that. So is he gonna win, and does he deserve to win? Because big casual name, big big YouTuber who makes videos for 14-year-old girls. Does he deserve the championship? Does he deserve an automatic championship from the Money in the Bank cash in?
And I'm going to argue the same thing that David Shoemaker once said. Now, Logan Paul is the briefcase. Anytime he wants, he can get a title shot just because he is Logan Paul. So he doesn't need it, but he's there to just attract eyes to it. So obviously your winner is going to come down to your other 6 guys. So is it LA Knight's turn? Is it his just reward for getting over really quickly?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, again for the nth time, I'm not the biggest LA Knight fan, but I think you do have to reward getting over organically. LA Knight is also not getting any younger, so my pick is Nakamura, but I think yung mga deserve naman manalo ang dapat manalo.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Rowan.
I have another thought about this match that what I like about this is hindi siya yung parang nagre-recycle ng wrestlers who has already participated a match like before. I mean, Nakamura did participate in
so
the
as
Money
Ricochet.
in the Bank match. Yeah, and Ricochet. Pero remember the time like Kane keeps on participating and then the commentators are like, "Oh, he is the record-setting 5-time participant," or parang ganun. I kind of dislike that. Parang other people deserve that spot. And I think ito na yung parang definition na like this is the perfect Money in the Bank ladder match. Well, without Logan Paul, it would be cool.
All right. So who's your pick to win?
Okay, final na talaga LA Knight.
All right. That was your cue to say yeah, but you didn't. So you missed your shot. All right, moving on. Let's talk about Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio. This should be fun.
Oof. I don't know. Clearly you have to win. You have to give Cody the win. That's like the easiest wins of his career. Diba? Pero, would you riot again if Cody lost to Dom?
Nakakatawa lang if Dom.
Diba?
Wait, why is it funny?
That would be hilarious to me.
Why though?
Because it just doesn't. I just don't see Dom beating Cody. Yeah, it would be a huge upset.
Even with a Rhea Ripley distraction?
Yeah. Still weird to see Dominic. Pero it would further his heel work na parang people would hate him even more.
More than they already do.
Yeah, more than they.
Kind of the point by having him beat someone on the level of Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Pero it's actually fine. I realize now putting over a younger talent kasi Cody is not young anymore pala.
It's definitely not. But
I sometimes
now,
forget.
the more I think about it, the more I want Dominic to win because I'm still not over the broken arm thing. So this guy technically still has a broken arm. So even though the Beast Incarnate was not able to defeat him with a broken arm, maybe the young the young dude who hides behind his mommy wine. So maybe that could happen. I want to see that.
Yeah, Prison Dom could come in and bring the Dementors from England and suck Cody's soul, diba? Suck the adrenaline out of his soul.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Now I want to see it. Okay, I'll take a Dominic win. Malay mo, diba? Stranger things have happened.
Stranger things indeed have happened.
Ash is here. What up, Ash?
Yo, what's up, Ash?
Why are you not going? You're there.
It's in your backyard, bro.
Yeah. What the? Oh, you were at Clash. Okay. I
At least.
I think that was a better experience, though. I mean, all things considered, I think that was a much better experience.
Even with Tyson Fury singing.
Oo, di naman ako yung may
Oh
problema
yeah,
with Tyson Fury singing eh.
yeah.
Diba, Emil?
Favorite song ni Emil.
That's right. It was Emil's favorite number. All right, last couple of matches for Money in the Bank. Seth
I
freaking
like Don
Rollins and
McLean.
Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. I really enjoy this feud. I love all the callbacks to SummerSlam. I love them fleshing out Finn's motivations. I love how nag-flip na rin sila ng roles and how they're really respecting the history that both of these guys have had with one another. And I'm going to call a Finn Balor win here. I think it's time. I think Seth did his job by establishing the World Heavyweight Championship. He defended it twice against Damian Priest and Braun Breaker. And it's time to pass it on to Finn Balor, who can do greater things with it.
I agree. Kasi Seth doesn't have to hold the title that long. Established na rin naman si Seth, and the world title itself is kind of established as something important. Yeah, I think it's time for Finn to be the champion this time. And para fair na rin sa kanya kasi like he only held the universal title for a day. Kaya I want him to have a lengthy world title reign. Kaya it's time for a title change.
Yeah, I want it to happen for sure. It's just that I know it's not going to happen because the big thing right now is going to be Finn versus Priest after this. I think there is still also some more money to be made with fighting champion Seth. I think that experiment isn't over yet. I think we'll be talking about it in the audio only, but there have been so many good things about this championship reign that I also don't want it to be over. So a lot of good things. It's a good sign. You want a lot of things to happen, but they can't happen for a number of good reasons as well.
Yeah, they all can't happen because for one thing to happen, the other cannot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is exactly how the universe works. But so because of that, because of the good things we have right now, I am calling for a Seth defense, successful retention, and I'm okay with that. I think we are gonna get so much more fun stuff with Seth as champion still.
Ito, sabi ni Ash, what if JD McDonough interferes? Or what if Damian Priest wins Money in the Bank? You kind of have to have Finn winning the big gold belt here just to create that tension even more.
Yeah. I think the good thing here is sobrang daming pwedeng mangyari. And the fact that these different possibilities have opened up is a testament to how good the writing has been, truly. So, I want all of those things to happen, but we can only pick one.
Yeah.
And my pick right now is the Seth win.
All right. So on the record, it's me and Rowan picking Finn and Ro picking Seth. Let's close it out here with the Bloodline Civil War. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus the Usos. No championships on the line here.
Yeah, the rumors are there are two different wild finishes being discussed for this match. So to that extent, I don't know if they have or if they're honoring whatever long-term story they're planning, or talagang it's boiling down to how it's gonna play out. Diba? So for me though, I need the Usos to win because this is their story, and we're just gonna go back to square one if Roman and Solo beat them. Say, what's the point of the revolt, diba? If they get squashed eventually.
Yeah.
They have to build momentum. The Usos have to win, and I think everyone recognizes that. And this is a way for Roman to be beaten without losing his championship, which I think is good for business.
Title's not on the line. It's fine for me that the Usos will win. Saka, I mean, the story will even be more compelling. Roman losing to his cousins is like his kryptonite. I want the story to eventually lead to Roman facing one of the Usos, like whichever Uso pins Roman, like let's say Jay, and then so he wins, right? He will then face Roman at SummerSlam. That's the way I see it for the UU title.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be calling for that. Jay picks up a pinfall win here over either Solo or Roman, and then they're going to use that to kickstart yung SummerSlam feud nila. I don't mind, especially since SummerSlam will be almost 3 years to the date when Jay and Roman first squared off for the Universal Championship. So I kind of like how it goes full circle by then. Should Roman take the pinfall here, though? Because the last time Roman lost, no Night of Champions, it was Solo who looked up at the lights.
Oh, hey, that's a good thing. But that's a good point. I think Solo is here to eat the pin. Syempre, it's not going to be as satisfying as someone pinning Roman, pero syempre, you got to save that moment as well. So, Solo did eat the pin, I remember.
Yep, nung Night of
last
Champions.
time, yeah. So I think he'll be doing the same here.
Eto, sabi ni Giancarlo, baka may bagong i-introduce na Bloodline member, kind of like nung Clash at the Castle when Solo was introduced.
Sino si Tamina?
I mean, it's not Naomi, whoever that's going to be, but it's not going to be Naomi.
I really wish Naomi when she was still in WWE.
Is it going to be what? Jacob Fatu?
Yeah, it's not going to be the young Fatu, the youngest brother. So, I don't think it's going to be a new Bloodline member.
Wag na, tatagal lang lalo yung story.
Long-term storytelling, Rowan. All right, so those are our predictions for Money in the Bank.
Si Rikishi pala.
Si Rikishi babalik.
bago siya pumunta dito sa Pilipinas.
Babalik muna siya ng WWE.
Oh.
Time for the audio-only part of episode number 600. Let's start with NXT and how it's really become super integrated in the larger canvas of the WWE main roster. So we've seen this in recent weeks through Carmelo Hayes being on SmackDown, diba, with his feud with Baron Corbin. Then now, nandito siya sa Raw. He actually got a match with Finn Balor on Raw. So between Braun Breaker, who made his Raw debut in 2022, and then si Melo, who has been making his Raw and SmackDown debuts, who's getting called up first if you were to be a betting man? I'm going to start with you, Rowan.
For me, I think sabay lang sila ma-call up. Like, I mean, sure, one of them will be first, pero they will be drafted in the same week. So, halimbawa, Braun will be on Raw, then Melo on SmackDown. I think both of them are main roster ready na eh. So, I'm fine if sabay sila ma-call up sa main roster.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Ro.
That's a tough question to answer. If we're talking about more complete product, I think Melo is the more complete product. And I think given the fact that they did just put him in a match on Raw, despite they put Braun in a match on Raw last year, but that one kasi was still, not as he was not as polished and rounded out as he is now. And the fact that they did that for Melo now, I think is a more solid na cosign for him as a main roster guy. So if going by that, I would say that Melo is getting called up first because I think I don't know, but the thing could be they could be getting called up at the same time, although that would really cripple the NXT main event scene. Pero di rin naman, I guess, because there are so many veterans there from NXT UK and the other guys, diba? So a lot of good stuff as well. I wouldn't mind if they get called up at the same time. I think this is the best call ups that we've seen ever. The best call up we've seen ever. Kasi,
Talaga?
Yeah, kasi it's not just a random, you're here. You're here. You're suddenly on Raw, and then you suddenly get thrust into the storylines. They found a way to really tell the story and, make Braun and Melo moving parts of things that actually are happening on Raw, diba? Di lang sila random inserts, di lang sila random side characters that, suddenly got TV time. They had Seth and Finn come down to NXT, even Baron Corbin come down to NXT, and then as a result, they had Braun and Melo go up to Raw. So Melo mostly go up to Raw, and then there results a story that makes sense. They're actually working hard to get them to accept the fact that to accept these young guys. They'll be coming in soon, diba? Parang di lang sila random guys that you need to know now because we suddenly called them up. Now they are guys that you can get invested in because they are actually working with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor and Baron Corbin, diba? So that's pretty cool. And I don't think I've ever seen that ever for that level of investment and interest for an NXT call up. And, interest and investment in the way they're called up, not just them as call ups. Diba? So that's pretty cool. And I hope that this will also be the standard moving forward. Although I get that not everyone deserves, a big major storyline with the top champion.
Yeah, some of them will have to settle for being a late round pick in the WWE draft. Kasi wala, ganun lang talaga. All right, elsewhere on NXT Gold Rush Week 2, Baron Corbin brought back the Lone Wolf gimmick, from the theme song to the attire to the way that he carried himself, which was a far cry from the guy that we saw the week before who was telling Carmelo Hayes na, I'm okay with being Happy Corbin kasi that made me rich. So what did you think about that when you heard his old theme music played and lumabas siya in the biker gear, Rowan?
I've been wishing Baron Corbin to go back with his Lone Wolf gimmick. Kasi ever since Triple H started running the show, diba? Parang Happy Corbin is not as happy as he is. Parang the gimmick isn't really working for me. So parang I think it's time to bring back the Lone Wolf gimmick. Pero it happened late, like ngayon lang. Pero it's fine. Like I feel nostalgic about it. Like I always listen to his theme song like whenever I commute home and yeah, because it's cool. I like his theme song. Like yung una niyang theme song and then yung End of Days. I like both of those songs. Yeah, I'm really happy that it's back. Pero it's kind of weird nga na parang from the last week's episode na he likes the Happy Corbin gimmick. Pero maybe it's like he said it in a way na parang magpapaalam na rin siya. Like, I got rich because of it. Pero eventually, because he became the Lone Wolf, parang it's a way na nagpapaalam na siya from being Happy Corbin.
The thing about that kasi was when he talked shit with Mello last week, he was pretty much justifying that he was different from his NXT self, and he was okay with it because that was the next step in his career evolution, and that next step in his career evolution made him a lot of money. And that's the only thing that's real in the business, the miles and the money. And by going back to the Lone Wolf thing, parang tinapon niya lahat yun and pretty much essentially admitted na okay, I actually do want your acceptance, your approval, and to get that, I'm gonna go back to the gimmick that you like the most. So what's up with that? It's fun. I mean, on a surface level, it's cool that you get to see Lone Wolf Baron Corbin again, even though you don't have the hair anymore. But you kind of made him look like a chump for going back on what was pretty much a cool way to say that this shit happens in wrestling and you got to deal with it because, I'm successful financially because of it. Unless yung next step na that is, okay, I was successful financially, but I'm deep down an empty shell of a pro wrestler, which is not him, by the way, because that's not what he portrayed himself. And that I don't see him being like that as well.
Yeah, it also came across as weird to me because Baron Corbin has always presented himself as a heel who didn't care about what the fans thought. And if you're a heel who doesn't care about what the fans think, wala kang pakialam sa mga references or callbacks to things that you did years ago. Diba? He's not that type of wrestler. Unlike yung mga indie darlings who will always try to find a way to reference something from their past, like KO and Sami Zayn coming out to gear with Super Dragon's logo or the PWG logo in WrestleMania. So it also came across as weird to me na, okay, why is he bringing back the Lone Wolf shtick? Even though I liked it, it's just, teka lang, heel to diba? And it's very counterproductive to what he was saying.
Unless, I'm throwing him a bone here. I'm throwing him a creative bone. But I guess you can argue that the most successful version of me was the Lone Wolf. Diba? That was the guy who was beating people with the End of Days in 6 seconds. So if he says that I had to be the Lone Wolf again to try and beat you, but he did not beat him. So what does that say about him? What does that say about the Lone Wolf? So that's ka pa rin. After all this time, you're still a bum ass Corbin after all of that shit. No, I mean technically, in kayfabe he is because he still lost. He's not Happy Corbin. He's not He's not bum ass Corbin. He's not successful as any Baron Corbin. Diba? So what now? Diba? You go back to the depths of your bumness and claw back again from that? Because I would like to see that, but I don't know if they're willing to go through that again. It's weird. Like I don't know. It's an unenviable spot for Baron Corbin to be in.
Mm-hmm. One of the things I liked from yung entrances as well, aside from yung Lone Wolf entrance ni Baron Corbin, was the shirt Carmelo Hayes was wearing, where you had Baron Corbin's face in the Machine Gun Kelly killshot graphic. If you remember that graphic that Eminem put out nung nag-diss track battle sila ni Machine Gun Kelly. So it was pretty funny seeing Baron Corbin's face in that graphic instead of MGK's. So that was a nice little nod there. All right, that's it for the NXT portion of the audio only. Let's cross over to AEW, where a lot happened on Dynamite kanina, and we're going to start with Adam Cole and MJF. Really fleshing out this whole MVP Matt Hardy thing, where they're enemies, but they're supposed to be tag team partners. And then shout out to Roderick Strong for being a nice little side character here, who MJF calls, "Hey, generic white guy." This is a fun story, I'm not going to lie.
Rowan, go ahead. You start.
Ako, I like yung strange bedfellows idea. I like tag teams na like good cop, bad cop, and this is gonna be one of those tag teams. This whole initiative kind of reminds me of what they did nung parang their women's tag team tournament noon. Like pipili sila ng kulay, and whoever picks the same color, sila yung magiging tag team. Pero ito ata yung parang you'll just pick whoever.
No. They got picked by Tony Schiavone. It was kind of like that then.
Pero that's what I like. Parang surprise. And then eventually baka in the finals they will win the tag titles. O kaya MJF will screw the whole thing.
That's actually not a bad idea. Okay, so the thing about this is I really like this a lot because I know fans nowadays, they like the shoot stuff. They like the referencing real life drama, the backstage heat shit. That gets the people going. But for me, MJF does so much of that already that when they actually stick him in a traditional wrestling story, he shines the most. Because he makes it work so much. It's not him trying to rile the crowd up with his insider knowledge of his if you know shit. It's just him trying to make a cheesy wrestling story work, and that's why I enjoyed yung 4-pillar story more after they stopped doing the history referencing with each other and started going into Sammy and MJF being best friends. Tapos now MJF and Adam Cole are being forced to be best friends, so that's pretty funny to me. And because they started on this. I mean, they started on the shoot stuff again, but they quickly pivoted to the strange bedfellows thing, and I really enjoy that because at this point I know that they're not going to rely on the weird or the villain origin story for the nth time, diba? So that's pretty cool, and I am looking forward to where they go with it next, diba? Sayang lang that Adam Cole didn't get to get his match with Tom Lawler, pero I wanted to see then where that would have taken them because MJF did his thing with Tanahashi, but Adam Cole did not. So sayang yan. So, but I am looking forward very much to what the next chapter brings to us.
Yeah, I kind of need MJF to keep dissing Roderick Strong here just because it's so funny. All right, next up, we'll talk about Renee Paquette. Kasi kanina ng Dynamite, there was a scene where there was a brawl backstage involving John Moxley and the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club, and then Renee wasn't playing her usual role as backstage interviewer or as sideline reporter, as they like to portray her, and she was being an actual character, being John Moxley's wife. So
and Eddie Kingston's friend.
And Eddie Kingston's friend, yeah, that's right. So does she have that name value or that historical cash as a wrestling personality to be a character already? Because this isn't the first time we've seen this. Like back in WWE, back when John Moxley used to get into these storylines on his own, there were a handful of times where Renee has also gotten involved. So this is not the first time this has happened.
Yeah, that one rivalry with The Miz, tsaka si Maurice.
Yes, that's right.
Renee was involved. Renee was involved there. So I think she's fine kasi established na rin siya. So I think this whole thing actually in
no, let me ask you this. No, let me ask you this, Rowan. If you didn't know any of that history, if you didn't know that she was involved with a Miz versus Ambrose angle, if you didn't know that she was John Moxley's wife, would you be wondering why Renee Paquette is suddenly telling John Moxley and Eddie Kingston to calm down?
Yeah, so without the context, actually, now that you mentioned that, diba, parang they always kept it low key na they never acknowledged na John Moxley and Renee are
husband and wife.
Husband and wife. They never acknowledged it. They always kept it low key, even in WWE. Kaya it's kind of weird. Halimbawa, if hindi ako masyado nanonood and I don't know them, I would find it weird. Pero ako, my thoughts here is that I like NPC characters being involved in storylines. So I really love this segment.
Yeah, it's weird lang because I mean, yes, we know who Renee Paquette is to John Moxley's life, diba? And we know the relationship with Eddie Kingston, with it's just that I don't think they played it up enough. Parang if you were coming into this Dynamite really fresh, you would be wondering why the sideline reporter is shouting at the former world champion too.
She's the only adult in the room.
Yeah. Why does she have this power over John Moxley and Eddie Kingston? She's just a sideline reporter. It's weird to say. On one hand, I understand why they didn't want to play up the fact that they were husband and wife. Because syempre, you do want to establish Renee Paquette as the backstage correspondent and not as Renee Paquette, John Moxley's wife. So on the other, it is still one of those if you know things that don't come off well when you think about it. But then now that I say that, I remember that AEW, after all, is still the hardcore fans promotion. That
it's the if you know you know place.
It is the if you know place. So I can't argue much against that. I have to wonder why I keep arguing against it.
And let me ask you this, Ro. What does Renee Paquette's involvement differ from when they show Jungle Boy's mom and sister at ringside or Sky Blue's mom in Chicago?
Oh, because Renee Paquette does have a role that isn't John Moxley's wife, diba? Her actual role in AEW is she is the backstage correspondent. She is an on-screen member of the broadcast team. So by that alone, yung role na yun implies that she is supposed to be one impartial and neutral. And then now that she gets in between John Moxley and Eddie Kingston, that is pretty much thrown out the window. But if you know, you know.
Yeah.
That's how it differs though from those family members that you mentioned.
Yeah, but yung mga backstage interviewers, they do tend to be partial din naman. Look at Mackenzie Mitchell on NXT. She's always the first to call out yung mga heels on their shit, from Grayson Waller to Big Body Javi.
I guess it's just weird because it's a major departure from what you would know the role of a backstage correspondent to be. Kasi weird lang. Yes, it's the if you know promotion, but still you are still attracting new viewers to your product. And I think I would have appreciated someone mentioning on commentary after that segment na Renee Paquette is actually John Moxley's wife and a dear friend to John Moxley's best friend Eddie Kingston. And sana that could have been a thing that they explained after, not necessarily before or during, just something to hook whatever new fan has stumbled upon this segment, and wonder why Renee is suddenly asserting her own authority.
All right, yeah, no, that makes sense. Like, I think if we could find a sweet spot between yung pinag-usapan natin, I think it's that. Now you have Excalibur probably saying at the end, that's Renee Paquette, who's not just one of our backstage interviewers, she's also John Moxley's wife.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're going to talk about a couple of heel turns here that happened over the course of the last few days from Forbidden Door to Dynamite. We're going to start with the Dark Order, which is not as big of a heel turn as the other one we're going to talk about in a bit. The Dark Order, they called out Hangman here for basically leaving them in the lurch. Yeah, when he decided to take up yung side ulit ng Elite in the fight against the Blackpool Combat Club. And then today, when the BCC and Konosuke Takeshita all attacked Hangman and the Young Bucks, the Dark Order just stood there and then they waved them off and were like, to hell with you, and then walked to the back. I don't know what you guys feel about this, but I actually felt it was justified. Kasi may punto naman sina Evil Uno and Alex Reynolds and John Silver na ang dali-dali for Hangman to ghost them. And, when you look at their friendship over the last 3 years, Hangman's a pretty shitty friend to these guys who were always with him through his worst when he was being the anxious millennial cowboy. And then now na nasa rurok na siya ng tagumpay, nahuyo niya na yung Dark Order bigla.
It's like they used them. Pero yun nga, like pinasaya si Hangman when he lost Kenny, diba? And also the Elite. And now that he got the Elite back, parang iniwan niya na nga lang yung Dark Order. Pero Dark Order turning heel for me, I love this idea kasi di ko na sila maseryoso ever since they turned face. I know they turned face because Brody died, pero it didn't really benefited them when they turned face. Tsaka nabawasan pa nga sila lalo eh. So I think
that's not their fault. Them losing members is not their fault.
Yeah, pero they didn't recover basically. I think this is the recovery na nag-heel turn sila.
Yeah, I want to answer this by telling a quick story. For those listening, I don't know if you guys remember the heyday of Up Rocks Wrestling. So, the main guy who talked about wrestling, or who wrote about wrestling on that site, was one Brandon Stroud, who was super annoying. Turned out to be a dick, but his insight about wrestling storytelling is usually on point. So he would usually call out characters based on the bad writing that they got. So if he were still around to critique how Hangman behaved with regard to the Dark Order, he would have rightfully called out Hangman for ghosting them, pretty much, diba? And the fact that they actually addressed this entire issue and brought back the Dark Order to TV, to AEW TV, after spending time in Ring of Honor, to address this major plot point, na what happened to their relationship after Hangman rejoined the Elite, diba? Is grade A storytelling. I don't know who did this. I don't know who was in charge of this, but it's little things like this that, honor and acknowledge my following of the plot and my understanding of how these characters behave is one of the best things, honestly, about watching wrestling for me. So I enjoy this a lot. Like you guys, I don't think we're supposed to boo the Dark Order as heels.
Yes. Thank you.
I think it's pretty clear that they made their case. Na Hangman did leave them hanging. Pun not intended. So you're kind of supposed to look at both the Dark Order and the Elite as three-dimensional characters who are not good, but also are not all the way bad. But they're just working their issues out because they're human beings, and I really like that. Not so much in the fact that I don't know who to cheer for anymore or who to boo, but as someone who consumes literature and likes the complex kind of literature, I enjoy this, and the fact that it tickles my brain is a good thing. So now I'm going to spend the next few weeks deciding who's the face here and who's the heel. Same thing with Ciampa.
Actually make the Dark Order just ordinary heels who
which I don't think they're going to do soon. As a corollary, we don't have this in the notes, but this is also the same thing that happens to Ciampa and The Miz. Nagkataon lang na nagkasabay sila, and I think that's a really sheer coincidental thing. Ciampa also turned on The Miz because of the same thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. And when he did that last week, I was also wondering, am I supposed to boo Ciampa because, or am I supposed to cheer him?
Wait, but be clear yun. Like, I always found it weird whenever you would point out na Ciampa's alignment was kind of blurry here. Because to me, it's clear na Ciampa is the babyface. But the mere fact that The Miz is such a detestable character.
Yeah, because Ciampa is still pretty rough, is really rough around the edges, as a person. Not as a written character. So sometimes I don't know is his intensity supposed to convey that he's a heel, or is it his intention and feelings that tell me he's a face? Stuff like that.
Yeah, parang Kevin Owens lang siya.
Yeah, but Kevin Owens is a little softer in that regard.
I don't know. I felt na si Miz kasi has always been presented as very self-interested. At dahil self-interested siya, matic heel siya. And because
but he still
self-interested na yun, nag-extend dun sa dati niyang friend na si Ciampa, it makes Ciampa the guy you have to root for.
He still did get attacked, all things considered. Diba? He still did get attacked. Not naman blindsided, but in a way that doesn't quite line up with being a face. But okay, sure. If that's straddling the middle of the ground, then sige, I'm all for it. But still, one of those things na not immediately obvious, and especially more so the Dark Order versus the Elite thing, that this little side quest that they have.
Yeah. I do agree with what you said kanina na when you have plots like this that acknowledge yung long-time fans who've really been investing their time and attention to every little plot point, it actually respects the fans, diba? It kind of thanks them low-key for all of the attention and investment they've put in your product. So I really agree with you there. So yeah, I do want them to acknowledge things like, where were you when this member of the Dark Order went away? But when Stu Grayson got fired, then brought back, where were you when the Righteous took him in? All that shit. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they can really unpack and flesh out itong beef na Hangman and the Dark Order. Ikaw, Rowan, anything else to add to this one? I know you haven't been keeping up with AEW as much.
Nothing much. We can move on.
All right. Let's talk about the other heel turn, which happened in Forbidden Door, which was the end of Jungle Hook. Jungle Boy has taken the Christian Cage route and is now dressing like Christian Cage and kind of speaking like Christian Cage. And now he has decided to go after Hook's FTW championship. So in his promo earlier, he called Hook an entitled second-generation prick. He mocked the FTW championship for not even being a recognized official title in AEW. And he was blaming Hook kasi raw Jungle Boy lost 2 shots at a world title while Hook gets to wave the FTW title in his face.
Like a slap in the face.
Yeah. So is the Jungle Boy heel turn justified here, Rowan? What do you think?
Kind of. Yeah, mainis din ako. Also, wait, sorry. When you said na he dressed up as Christian Cage, nung di ko pa pinapanood yung Dynamite kanina, and he was running away backstage, I thought it was Christian Cage. So that was kind of funny. Medyo malayo yung camera angle, so yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think it's justifiable. Para he made a point naman. Like, parang, kahit ako mainis ako, like, I already lost my title shot, and then, para you're gonna slap me in the face with your title belt. Or like, parang, wave it around my face. Parang, mapipikon din ako. Pero, this Jungle Boy heel turn, I never expected this, never saw this coming. And, Jungle Boy just looks like a guy who will never turn heel. It kind of remind me of Chris Panzer joining MSG. Like, it's unexpected.
Unexpected good or unexpected bad?
Unexpected good.
Okay.
You didn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Ro.
Okay. The turn itself was fine. So again, it's time for Jungle Boy to turn. But the way he followed it up was, I don't know, you're not supposed to like a heel, diba? But I really didn't like that, and not for the reasons they wanted me to dislike it, you know. Everything about the new Jungle Boy is so terrible. Parang he's like, a cheaper copy of Christian, and even more cheap kasi he can't join up with Christian because that would admit he would have to admit rather that Christian was right about him, and that he would have to acknowledge the guy who kicked his ass for the better part of a year, whatever, all of that stuff. But alam mo yun, parang it's like a cheaper MJF, it's like everything that's bad. It's cheap heat. It's even cheaper heat, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm justified here, but it's not him. And I know it's not supposed to be him, but it's not also him.
Hindi bagay is what you're saying.
Yeah. Diba? Parang a heel Jungle Boy to me should have been an angry young man, diba? An angry caveman. But they're trying to stuff him in a role in a character that I don't think is working. And even if you do have to dislike a guy, the character still has to work. And this tonal shift is just too much. Nah, I don't buy it at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it one step further and say that he was cringy. Like when he delivered the line, "I'm still banging the hottest chick around here," and then wink pa siya to the camera. It was so cringy.
It's like MJF could pull that off in the cringy way that makes sense for him. Pero okay, Jungle Boy, okay, Jack Perry, not Jungle Boy anymore. It does not line up. It
was very much like Michael Scott saying the same line. So you didn't imagine like Steve Carell as Michael Scott saying that line. It was not good. I'm gonna step back here and talk about the meta narrative here, because I don't like having Jungle Boy turn heel. Just because I think there has to be that one pure babyface character on your roster. And Jungle Boy was that guy. There's a reason why the WWE has never turned Rey Mysterio heel. Kasi siya yung ultimate underdog mo. Siya yung 100% pure babyface na lahat ng tao sa WWE mag-turn heel na sila, si Rey Mysterio will never turn heel. Jungle Boy was that guy for me in AEW. Now that he's turned heel, I don't know who that guy can be. So I'm actually kind of sad that Jungle Boy turned heel.
Yeah. And he didn't even turn heel in a satisfactory way. So I think this one is kind of lost until they go with a different way of portraying a heel Jungle Boy.
Yeah. Now that he's turned heel, sino na yung unquestioned unanimous babyface na are you sure this guy's never gonna turn heel?
Jeff Hardy, I guess. I don't know.
Jeez. You go, Rowan. Any guesses?
I don't know, man.
Diba? It was Jungle Boy. He was that dude.
Yeah, kasi like I said, hindi mo may expect na mag-heel turn siya ever. He was
sometimes those guys that you don't expect to turn heel, you just never turn them heel.
Yeah. Agree with that. There have to be people who can't turn heel. I get it though. I mean, the lure of the heel turn is great. I understand that because you get to do a whole different dimension of things as a wrestler. Pero for the business, for the sake of the business, sometimes you gotta bite the bullet and swallow your pride.
Diba? It's kind of like why si John Cena, he never turned heel because he was that dude. Anyway, that's really it. Those are our audio-only topics for this week. A bit of NXT, a bit of AEW. If you have any thoughts on this that you want to share, kind of like how you agree or disagree with the things we pointed out regarding the Dark Order and Jungle Boy heel turns, let us know. As always, on TikTok and on Twitter, it is at Wrestling2XPod. Thank you to everybody who sent in your predictions in the comment section. If you're listening to this on the audio-only version, you can drop in your predictions and your reactions on TikTok and on Twitter at Wrestling2XPod. Rowan, you haven't been here in a while, so how about you start off our plugs here? Anything to promote?
Please listen to our audio-only episode, the Pick of the Week's episode, Picks of the Week episode. Tsaka, our Patreon review is a freebie now, so basahin niyo yan. Me and Ro are working hard on it.
Yep.
All right.
Definitely.
Ro, your plugs?
Yes, sir. New episode of Unmasked out this morning. So if you haven't listened to it yet, please do. Please go check it out. It is the story of our first Revolution X 2015. It is, or was rather, the so-called WrestleMania of the Philippines. Whether or not that was true is up to you guys, the fans. But we were there for it. Stan and I were there for it, and we, apart from having another tag team match, we were also a part of a major creative decision that we regret to this day. So that story is in that episode.
Hindi lang creative decision. Like I was actually in that moment in canon.
Oh yes. It was. I was a creative consultant for that. So.
Fuck me.
Yeah. So that story is in there. So for those looking for more classical Brian Leo stories, that's the hook. Also, talk about how the mask was made, who made the masks, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So please, if you haven't listened to it yet, it's Unmasked: The Chronicles of Romuran and Sandata. It's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I think those are the only major platforms that you can find it on. And, please do check it out. If you listen, please give me 5 stars or, rate however you want it. Be honest, as long as you rate it. So I hope that you guys enjoy it. enjoy my stories, and we'll be back with another episode next week of my first singles match versus one Chris Panzer. And syempre, we have more episodes of Manila Wrestling Federation Action Novela TV. The latest episode just dropped yesterday. It involved our friends from Oro Plata Mata, myself in the ring, and Crystal. So please do check that out, ManilaWrestling.com. You can subscribe to our Gank profile for only $10 or around 600 pesos. You can pay via GCash, debit card, credit card, and a whole bunch of ways to support the show. And yun ba, also want to show because the finished product is where you can hear our work as commentators. So if you go to the shows, Rowan, you still watch the final product kasi syempre you don't catch everything in a live taping. So
saka gusto ko baka mamaya gusto ko marinig yung commentary kasi baka mamaya may reference ka.
Exactly.
And so storytelling na rin.
Yeah, we do add that extra layer of storytelling. So if you want to support, if you want to hear me do my thing, if you want to hear myself, Sunny, and Will do our thing and support what we do, please do, check that out on Gang. Kasi we work so hard on it, and we want you to watch the full thing. Kasi the whole is much better than the sum of its parts, So please go check that out, ManilaWrestling.com. And then follow us on TikTok at Wrestling2xpod.
All right. Thank you again to everybody who caught episode number 600 of the Wrestling Podcast. All of the followers, streamers, or people who stream the show, subscribers, viewers, patrons, most especially. You guys are the reason we continue to be the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast for 600 episodes and counting. Big shout out as well to babyface producer Jasper at the controls, who does a very fantastic job at making sure that the show runs smoothly and takes care of the editing as well. And thank you to everybody over at PNA for all of the good work that they do behind the scenes, because without them, we'll have a much smaller platform to put the podcast on. Thank you as well to Rowan and Ro for being here with me on the stream. And we'll catch you next week for our Picks of the Week episode and another live stream as we review Money in the Bank. Follow us individually at Chino Supersized, at EML_Meister, at Monday Night Rowan, at Roeswar, and at _Stan C. For Rowan ASH and Ro Moran, my name is Stan C, reminding everyone to stay safe, stay healthy, and don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast. Out. Bye-bye.
Peace.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion,